Matter of just 13, let's call it 14 minutes, the swearing in of a new cabinet minister, the delay, as President Ramaphosa was telling us a little earlier, due to an NCOP meeting that's been sitting in Ekurhuleni here in Gauteng today, also saying that cabinet must have an appropriate mix of experience, capability, gender and age. I think the big decision here is the appointment or the merging, as you can see on your screen, of the communications and the telecommunications departments into one now, all to deal with the forthcoming challenges of the fourth industrial revolution. The person taking over that department with an absolutely broad grin on her face is Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, the Home Affairs Minister. That's replacing Malusi Gigaba, Siyabonga Cwele, and the Environmental Affairs Minister, Nomvula Mokonyane, who moves from communications. Also the deputy, the resignation of a Deputy Minister, Thembi Majola. One of the interesting points to emerge, though, once again, as we were discussing a little earlier, the minister in the presidency looking after the women's portfolio, Batabili Dlamini, survives again. You know this face very well. He's a regular commentator on eNCA. Prince Mashele, good evening to you and welcome. Let's dive straight into it. The merging of these two departments and the appointment of Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. A lot of speculation swirling around this morning that she was going to get the job. Is she the right person?
She is the right person because she was deputy, so she's used to that portfolio. She has experience. The fact that she's young also, I think, is a plus in cabinet, because there has been a complaint recently that youthful leaders are being marginalized. So I think that voice is going to be silenced. The merging of the two ministries is nothing new. In fact, those ministries, remember, Jeremy, were split under Jacob Zuma.
They were, that's right, yes, of course. Exactly. It was one before his administration.
Before. So we are actually going back to where we started. So there's absolutely nothing new about
What's
this.
the thinking behind it, though?
Well, let us start with the thinking behind the splitting in the first place. Back in the administration of Jacob Zuma, he wanted to give as many rewards to as many political supporters. So which is why he created many ministries. There was absolutely no logic why he created the two ministries. So this decision, I think, is the right decision because, one, it's going to save the public money. Two, it's going to focus the attention of the head of that ministry on the communication sector as a whole comprehensively.
Why, if that template is one that is now being adopted in terms of a little bit more cabinet austerity, in terms of streamlining, could he have not gone a step further then?
Let's analyze the logic behind the announcement today. President Ramaphosa had two possibilities. Possibility number one is to shake the tree so that the rotten fruits fall. If he did that, he would have demobilized important partners as he's going into an election, because those people must go out into the streets and campaign for him. So the rotten fruits would have been Batabile Dlamini. Another rotten fruit would have been Nomvula Mokonyane, who has been shifted to environmental affairs. So he decided to leave them there. I can bet that they're not coming back after the elections if the ANC wins. So he didn't shake the tree. So the second option is just to leave things as they are. Essentially what he has done is to leave things as they are so that he doesn't empower those who are beginning to say he is paging pro-Jacob Zuma personalities in the ANC. So no one has been shaken now. Everything remains the way it was before the announcement, essentially. So that's the political chess has been played.
Take the point, but there's a bit of pre-election campaigning expediency involved in all of this. But given that we are just a few months away from the election, it was to be expected, I imagine, given, and we keep coming back to this point, the factionalism that exists within the ruling party, as well as the thin margin of majority that he still holds after Nasrec last year.
You are right. It was to be expected. I mean, let's remember, President Cyril Ramaphosa is the weakest president of the ANC since 1994. Most people don't know that, because he is the first president to get into that office of the ANC with under 200 votes. So he knows that he is commanding a force that is divided. So what do you do when you are commanding such a force? You dance on eggshells. You don't rattle things. So that's what he has done. He hasn't shaken anybody. He has reassured everybody in the tent that you are part of this ship. But he is waiting for next year's elections. only then will he show his hand. He is signaling that he's going to merge ministries. Remember, he said already that he prefers a smaller cabinet, but he can't do it now.
There was talk a little earlier, and I think it was Bloomberg News that quoted it, this talk about the super economic ministry, so merging as many different economic portfolios into one ministry, which would have perhaps made the formulation and the implementation of policy a whole lot easier. Again, that is something which is perhaps post the election, but certainly something that is being looked at.
Look, I think, by the way, that would be a terrible mistake, because that formula was actually tried under Jacob Zuma. People forget that. There is a fellow by the name of Ibrahims, who is head of economic development in cabinet as we speak. Nobody knows what that person does.
Ibrahim Patel.
Ibrahim Patel, sorry.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what Ibrahim Patel does every day when he wakes up, because he's responsible for economic policy. There is no way, if you create such a super ministry for economic affairs, you are going to create conflicts amongst cabinet ministers, because the head of trade and industry, the head of treasury, is going to feel that their space is being usurped. So, and if you have someone who is going to be above them, they will wonder who's their boss. Is that minister or is it the president? I think it would be a big mistake for the president to create such a ministry.
Let's come back to this merged portfolio of communications against Stella and the Benny Abrams, formerly the deputy, as you have correctly said. The minister talking about better alignment, better coordination, that makes sense, but also now dealing with the challenge of the fourth industrial revolution. I think we forget sometimes, given the delays that we've seen within the communications priorities, just how important this particular ministry is. She really has got her work cut out for her.
She does. Actually, she has much more than that, and I think in the next 6 months or so, real, because he's going to be minister for 6 months. My sense is that if the ANC wins, Cyril Ramaphosa will appoint her again. She has massive challenges. As we speak, the SABC is falling apart. She has to deal with that immediately. Nomvula Mkonyan was actually conspicuous by her absence in dealing with the problems at the SABC. But also, there is a whole digitization drive that is going on in communication. She has to deal with that.
Where we have failed miserably in this respect up to now. Prince Mashele, hold on for just 1 second, because we're going to expand the conversation now after this cabinet reshuffle, as I bring in my colleague Thulasizwe Simelane in Pretoria. He's reporting it live from the Union Buildings, live in Durban. You can see a political commentator, Xolani Dube. Thulasizwe, to you very quickly. We were talking a lot earlier about the speculation about so much more that we thought the president might deliver on. But as it went to script, lasted all of 13 or 14 minutes. As we've been discussing with Prince Mashele, just one change in the merging of these two ministries. We haven't yet spoken about Siyabonga Cwele as the Home Affairs Minister, or Nomvula Mokonyane, who now moves to Environmental Affairs. But what's the general sense in the room? Were people expecting more?
Well, Jeremy, it actually played out the way we had talked about it a bit earlier on, in the sense that I had said earlier on that the president had a choice to make, whether to keep it technical, to say I've got 2 vacancies to fill, and I will fill those vacancies even if it means I move people around a bit. Or the alternative would have been to say, hey, actually, I've got 2 vacancies to fill, but I'm not happy with the performance of 1 or 2 other ministers, and perhaps they've got issues that are, clouds that are hanging around them. In fact, we're talking here specifically about Bathabile Dlamini, where the president has been given a deadline, which has now passed by the public protector, to say, take action against this minister, who was found by the Constitutional Court to have that there's strong evidence, strong indications that she may have lied under oath, and the Constitutional Court, of course, ordering that the clerk of that court should actually take this matter up with the National Director of Public Prosecutions for possible prosecution of a serving minister for perjury, something that goes against every bit of conduct that they're supposed to uphold. So the president then went for the first choice, which is a technical changes to the cabinet. Interestingly, the presidency says that they never spoke about a reshuffle. They spoke about the president announcing changes to the national executive, which is what he has done exactly. So they never promised us more. We are the ones who expected that there would be more. So, but it's significant. I mean, you saw the aesthetics in the room. Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, as I said to Karima a bit earlier on, I mean, when we were talking about her earlier on, we were pretty much aware from our sources that this was going to be something that was likely to transpire. And in fact, that suspicion was strengthened when we saw her in the vicinity of this room. She was dressed to the nines, accompanied by her husband, Tato, who was sitting in the room as well. And also, she smiled from time to time. For instance, at Director General Lubisi's pronunciation of her surname, Abrams, which seemed to amuse the new minister. And also, she did seem to have prepared herself for this word in the oath of office conscientiously. And I also have to think about it before I pronounce it. So you saw, as she was taking the oath of office, that she paused and smiled as she was pronouncing that. Let me bring in my colleague, Samgele Masego, very quickly, Jeremy. So in a way, hardly surprising the way things played out, Samgele. To a certain extent, the talk of Stella Ndabeni-Abrams was already starting to happen even before the announcement was made.
Indeed, Tulasizwe, we got a wind of this talk of Stella Ndabeni-Abrams becoming a minister last week, Thursday, through various sources who said he had had a telephonic conversation with the president. At the time she was still abroad, the president basically saying, can you come in as a minister? You'd remember that she had a very difficult time in that ministry years back when she was still deputy minister to Faith Mutambi, where there was a power struggle between the two. But she seems to have walked a very long walk, as you've said, with the president, going back to prior to the ANC conference in 2017 at Nasrec. She ran a whole campaign for the president in the Eastern Cape alongside Oscar Mabuyane. So she basically earned her seat with the president politically within the ANC. She's the spokesperson of the African National Congress in the Eastern Cape. So she has nailed her mask to the colors to President Cyril Ramaphosa way back since 2016, if I'm not mistaken. She was very outspoken against the presidency of former President Jacob Zuma, even on social media, on Facebook platforms, even saying that she does not need this portfolio that she had at the time, which was the deputy minister in the telecommunications. If they want to take it away, they can take it away. She will speak her view. So she seems to be a very outspoken person, but just not to speak too much. I just spoke to her outside. Now she says she's very grateful of the opportunity that the president has given her. She wants to serve her country, and it's going to be a tumultuous task combining the two ministries going towards the 2019 general election, showing that she has a huge work on her shoulders, and she will do her diligent best to serve the country and to make sure that she performs within this ministry.
All right, Samgele, thank you so much. Quick to get reaction there is our Samgele Masego. Jeremy, let me leave you by invoking two bits of popular culture. Let me test your knowledge of popular culture. In January, we had Stella Ndabeni-Abrams joining the president for a walk in East London. That's the day the president was wearing those now famous socks. So we can say today, Naile walk, as they say, in terms of current home music. Naile walk. She now walks into a fully fledged ministry, and the president, in congratulating her, saying that you are now a full minister, and they both chuckled a little bit. And then the last bit of popular culture that I leave with you. You remember the movie The Matrix, Jeremy? Remember the move by that character, the Neo, how he's taught to dodge bullets, and sort of he does this sort of leaning back, extreme leaning back, almost with his feet up in the air, and you see these bullets just going above his body. Well, there's a debate whether you could say that about people such as the Minister Nomvula Mokonyane and Minister Batabile Dlamini. Are they the key, the Matrix characters in all of this, surviving even against the odds?
Two nice analogies there, Tulas, and I'm still having a chuckle as well at the difference between changes to the cabinet and a reshuffle. Very unlike the media to jump the gun in that respect. And of course, we know that reshuffle makes for a much better headline. headline. Prince Mashele, I'm going to get to you in just a moment. I'm also hoping to go live to Parliament, where reporter Lester Kivitt is going to try to garner some opposition reaction to these developments. But waiting very patiently for us in our Durban studio this afternoon is political commentator Xolani Dube. Xolani, good afternoon to you and welcome. What's your broad assessment then? Did President Ramaphosa play it safe, particularly as we're into election campaign season, or did this pretty much go to script?
I think he played he was very strategic in terms of appointing Stella, because you understand that communication towards the election or during the election is one of the key component in terms of making one visible to the constituency. And I think also the most important thing that I think we are really not looking at is the resignation of the Deputy Minister of Energy, because you'll understand that the Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency is mainly dealing with the issues of energy. And so one wonders why a deputy minister would simply offer her resignation just like that. I think that needs really a serious interrogation.
He did say that it was for personal and for family matters. Prince Mashele, if I was listening correctly, that's what he did say. But is Xolani right? Is there a question mark there, or is he just a conspiracy theorist?
I hold a different view. Yeah. A deputy minister doesn't have weight. In the first place, a deputy minister is not a member of cabinet. So whether a deputy minister is there or not, in fact, by the way, most South Africans didn't know this deputy minister before this resignation. So I don't think we should make much. There must be personal problems because nothing will shake after a resignation.
I mean, if we've got time, we could also talk about the validity and the importance of deputy ministers and why we need them. But let's get to that in just a moment. Xolani Dube, back to you in Durban if we can. What we haven't spoken about is the replacement for the disgraced Malusi Gigaba, Dr. Siyabonga Cwele. Is that a good move? What do we know about it? What particular challenge then does he have to pick up?
Look, I think this is towards the closure of Jacob Zuma's cabinet ministers. I don't think that Cyril has so much room to move around, except just to make everyone comfortable and to make everyone see the importance of ANC remaining in power. And so I think for him, as Prince made it clear, he was not going to shake the tree, and he need not anyone to fall, but he needs each and everyone collectively to campaign for the ANC. And I think most discussion, the real leadership and the frankness of Cyril is going to be seen possible after the election. And for now, I don't think that we have so much that we can really extrapolate from his action that he did today.
All right,
but
so
surely after the